everyone, welcome back to another video. I have the 60 art markers set by Color It here, and we are going to unbox these today, take a look at them. I'm going to do a little bit of a review on these. These are the dual-tipped alcohol-based markers. They are not a new release. They've been around for a little while, but Color It was kind enough to send these to me so that I could share them with all of you. If you check the description box down below, I will have everything that you see in this video linked down there so that you could easily find it, as well as links to my Etsy store, my email list, my Facebook group, and my Patreon if you would like to support me there. Let's go ahead and get into the unboxing. Okay, I have my trusty little X-Acto knife here, and so we are just going to take this plastic off. They do come in a really nice box, but y'all know if you've watched my previous videos where I have reviewed other products by Color It, their products are usually always really well packaged. If you didn't already see my video where I reviewed their new and updated set of colored pencils, I'll link that in the upper right hand corner so that y'all can see that. But those came in a really nice box as well. You can see here at the top we have all of the colors that are included in this set. We can see all of the color numbers and the color names. And I guess this is the color family order that they have them in. And so you can see that it looks like we get quite a few reds actually, and pinks. So we've got 3 yellows and some oranges. We get quite a few greens. That's really great for those of us that love to color our leaves because you get quite a few different shades of greens. And then you get some blues here. Here are some purples that seem to have quite a bit of red in them. And then we get a violet, an ultraviolet, this color Nightshade. I think that is maybe a really dark purple. Of course, I'm going to swatch some of these out and see what the colors actually look like when we lay them down on paper. And then here we get some browns. We get some browns with red in them. We get some more natural browns. And then here we get a brown that looks like it has some orange in it. And over here we have a few grays, our black, and our colorist blender. So you do get a blender in this set. Then on the back of the box, it just says we guarantee the safety and quality of our products. The ink in these markers is permanent and will stain your clothing and upholstery. So they're not suitable for children under 5 years old. Make sure that your cap snaps shut to prevent damage and drying out. If any item does not perform properly, need replacement, or if you have any questions, please email us, and then they give their email address. And I will say that this box is really good quality. It has a little magnet here on the front. So it has a magnet closure, and then it just pops open like this. Then over here on the inside, we have a full swatch of all the colors again. And then here at the top, it says match the 2 butterflies to fold the cover into a stand. Oh, how cool is that? Okay, so I was afraid that I was going to break it and I was doing something wrong, but this does, if you push it open here, go down like that. And then here on the inside of the case, there's actually another butterfly. So like it said, you just take the 2 butterflies and you match them up like that. And then I would assume that you turn it like this. And so we have an actual stand. That is so super cool. So when it is standing, you actually have all of your colors up here. And then you have the swatch of what the colors are going to look like down here. And so when it's turned sideways, which is how you should always keep your alcohol markers, you should always keep them on their side so that the ink can flow on both sides of the marker, so both of the nibs are always in contact with the alcohol ink. But then when you turn it down on the side, it's just sort of leaning on here, and you have your coloring page in front of you, and then you can actually see it, and you can just pull the colors that you want to pull from the set of markers. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of the markers. It's going to say Color It right here with their little adorable butterfly logo. I love their logo, but y'all know I love butterflies. And then it just says art marker. And then we have the fine tip on this side and the broad tip on this side. And this is really cool that I'm noticing as well. On the caps, you actually have these little raised dots. And I would assume that is so you can have a better grip when you are pulling the caps off. But this side you can see is the fine tip, so that is what it looks like. And then let's take a look at the other side. And the caps are really easy to get off. But this is the broad chisel nib, and that's what it looks like. So they're not brush markers. They are going to be chisel and then fine tip. But sometimes these work better. I know when I'm using alcohol markers, sometimes I find that the broad tip actually works better for me than the brush tips. And I have found when I'm using the brush tips on some of my markers, like my Ohuhus, for instance, when I'm coloring, the brush tip for me sometimes will cause my ink to go outside of the lines. So the barrel is totally white. And we have on the tips the color. This one is cherry. And then if you turn it over, the other tip is the exact same way. And it's like that on all of the markers. But they do have the white barrel with the black writing. So the writing really does stand out on these markers, which is nice. And then I really like that we have the color tips on the caps, and that the writing on the caps is white, because that helps it to really stand out too, and you know exactly what color you're pulling. But it's really neat the way they are in this case, because I could see all of my colors right in front of me, right with the swatch. And then having this other section here just reassures me that I'm putting my colors back in the right place, because you can see here that you've got the cherry here, and then this one is cherry, scarlet red, and then you've got the scarlet red. So you know exactly where to put your markers back, and you could just very conveniently slide them in and out. And a lot of times with alcohol markers, I know with my much bigger set of alcohol markers, my 216 Ohuhu set, sometimes I get very overwhelmed trying to pick colors because I have so many markers to choose from. With these, you're getting 60 colors, and so it is very easy to just look at the colors and be able to pick and choose what you want to blend together. And the great thing about using alcohol markers is you don't necessarily have to be a pro at coloring, because you don't necessarily have to blend your colors together. You can lay one layer and then you can come back and use your colored pencils for all of your shadows and your shading. And even sometimes I come back with a lighter color and I even increase the highlight. And the alcohol markers make a very nice first layer so that it takes a lot less work to get a full coloring page completed. And since Color did send me their brand new coloring book, we are going to be doing a tutorial in that book, and I'm going to show you how I use my alcohol markers and then come back with a layer of colored pencil to be able to add all my shadows and my shading. And so that will be in the next video where I do the flip through of the coloring book. So that is going to be in a video to follow, and should come very soon after you see this video on the review of these markers. So as far as pricing on these, you can get these right now on Amazon for only $29.99, and they are available right now. They have a subscribe and save on them, and they are also on Prime. And if you already have some items that are on your subscribe and save, I know a lot of us do that and join the subscribe and save, so you get a little bit of a discount on some of your items if you're purchasing quite a few things and you purchase them over and over again. But if you do add them to your subscribe and save, you end up saving 5%. So we're going to go ahead and swatch out all of these markers so we could see what they look like all laid out on a swatch chart. So I went ahead and took some time off camera and I created this swatch chart, and I did print this on my favorite marker paper. If you are interested in marker paper, I always, when I do videos like these, I always make sure I link the marker paper that I use down in the description box below so that you can easily find it. I use the Hammermill paper that I always purchase on Amazon, and it works fantastic with alcohol markers. So we are going to go ahead and use this, and we're going to swatch out all of these colors. I did go ahead and put these in some kind of order, just looking at the box. So I didn't put them in exact color family order, but I put them in an order that probably is better than what they already are in the box, and I did start with my yellows like I always do. So I started with my yellows, went into the oranges, and so that way after I'm done swatching all these out, y'all be able to get a better idea of the colors that we get with this set, how many we get from each color family, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch all these colors out, and I'm going to speed it up to music while I do that. Then we're going to come back and we are going to do a review of the colors. All the colors are all swatched out, and I just wanted to talk about a few things that I noticed while I was laying them down on the swatch chart. So I know when we're looking for alcohol markers, we want alcohol markers that are nice and juicy so that they blend well. And we are going to do a blend test after I do a review of these colors. They did seem pretty juicy. If you watch the complete swatch, you will see that they went right down on the paper, no issues at all. I will say that a couple of them did have a very strong smell, and I think it was the Prussian blue and there was one other, but none of the rest of the markers had that same smell. So I don't know if I just need to maybe let those couple colors just sort of air out or something. And I didn't notice it with any specific color group. It was just a couple various markers that were in different color families. But aside from that, they went down on the paper beautifully. So let's go ahead and take a look at the colors. So starting at the top, we do get quite a few yellows. And now that I'm looking at this honey color probably should not go there. But of course, I was looking at the top of the marker case over here where it just shows all the colors. And of course, those colors are not going to match to the color once it's swatched out onto your swatch chart. So we do get 4 yellows. This one has a lot more orange in it, so 5, 6 yellows. This one is definitely more of a yellowish orange, as well as this sunset orange. This butterscotch definitely looks like what I would call butterscotch, but it almost looks like it should be down somewhere with the brown tones. So as we get into the oranges, we have a different variation of oranges. And now that I'm looking at those, I've got some of these out of order as well, because we've got these 2 pinks stuck in here that don't look that way at all on the swatch chart. On the top of the case where all the colors are swatched out, they look like they are very much red, but these have quite a bit of pink in them. And then we get quite a few more pinks down here. And I'm not sure that I really see an absolute true red in here. This is probably the closest we would get to a red. But when I look at this, it still has a lot of pink in it. And I don't know if maybe it's just me. Y'all have to let me know what you think. So as far as oranges, we get 1, 2, 3. This one still has quite a bit of orange in it, so that would probably be 4. And then we get a red here, and this I would consider a red. And this strawberry red, or what they're calling strawberry red, that has an awful lot of pink in it. And then we've got quite a few more bright pinks down here, and then some lighter tones of pink all here. This pale pink is really super, super light. I don't even know if I would call that a pale pink. It doesn't have a whole lot of color to it, but I would probably use this pale pink with these other pinks here, even a couple of these lighter shades of pink, just to create a much brighter highlight on your coloring pages. And then we get a couple purples here, and this purple sort of takes us into the blues. We get a couple light blues that are more like teal blues. And then we get these lighter blues. We get this color right here, this blue cloud. That's a gorgeous blue. And then we get this color here called Cool Shadow. I don't know if that is even in the right place. It looks very similar to this pale pink here. But if you look here on the top of the pencil case, this is the cool shadow right here, and it looks like it might be a very toned down green. So if you were going to use that one, I would say that's probably great to try to blend with some of these lighter greens, or even maybe the lighter blue, maybe to blend in with this blue cloud. And then we get this sage here, so that one's probably a little bit better to put with some of the greens. Now that I'm looking at both of these, I'm seeing that this one does definitely look like a sage, a very pale, pale, pale sage. And that would probably be really pretty blended in with something like the seafoam blue that they're calling a blue, but this actually looks very green to me. So you've got some greens here. We have this new leaf that is a yellowish green. It looks a lot more yellow to me, but it's really, really pretty. And then we have this mermaid blue and this blue green, which very much fall under teal type colors to me. And then we have this gorgeous hunter green. We have some olive colors. So we've got the olive and the army, which are very much olive type colors. And then this pale olive, that looks more like a beige to me. We have this sepia here. That's a beautiful brown. It's like an orangish brown. And then the sand seems to have a lot of pink in it. That's really pretty. That looks like a mauvey pink. Then when we come down here, we've got roasted almond, burnt sienna. This looks very typical for a burnt sienna. And then clay, that's a really pretty color if you wanted to color some wood grain or something to mix in with some of these other colors. Saddle brown, that's a really pretty brown. Putty, dove gray, so we've got a really pale, pale gray if you were doing an animal to be able to mix in with probably this putty. These would look really pretty together, and maybe possibly the pewter as well. Then these two here, the cloudy gray and the cool gray, these are both cool grays, whereas this, and this are all warm grays. Then we have the espresso and the black. The black looks much more like a cool black, and then the espresso looks like a black as well, but it looks much more like a warm black tone. And then of course our colorless blender that you can't see on the swatch. So we do have a nice selection of colors, but I would say honestly that we are lacking a real true red in this set. But aside from that, I don't really see anything that is lacking in this set. It does have a really nice array of colors, and a lot of these greens down here would be beautiful blended in with some of these yellows. We've got some really pretty bright, vibrant yellows, and then we also have that fancy yellow, which is really, really pale. And then we even have a yellow ochre type color, and I really love that color. And we do have a couple yellowish orange colors before we get into the oranges, and we have quite a few oranges. We are just really lacking that one true red. But if you have other alcohol marker sets, you could always mix some of these colors together with some of your other alcohol marker sets. And sometimes it's better just to have 60 colors to choose from and use that so it's not so overwhelming like my big, huge Ohuhu set. I get so overwhelmed. I wanted that set so bad, but every time I go to pull it out and color a page, I just get so overwhelmed trying to pick colors. I definitely need my swatch chart. And on any type of budget set alcohol markers, you are going to need a swatch chart, and make sure you swatch all your colors out, because the colors on the caps or the color coded caps on the markers are not going to match up to what you see here. Let's see, this one is blue cloud, and this is the blue cloud. It's a darker shade of blue. And on here, you could tell that it is very, very pale shade of blue. This looks like it should be more over here and matches up more so to something like this Caribbean blue. So a lot of them are like that, and that's to be expected because they are a more budget set of alcohol markers and they are not Copics. And we all know we don't have the bank account for Copics, at least most of us don't. So sets like this are a really great alternative. And if you're just starting out with alcohol markers and you just want to be able to learn how to use them, this would be a great starter set. So the next thing we need to do is we really need to test these out, and we need to do a blend test. And so we are really going to put them to the test. We're going to see how they blend together. And so the first thing we need to do is we need to look at our swatch chart, and we need to choose some colors. I am already thinking I want to work with pinks because we have a lot of beautiful pinks in this set. I think maybe let's start with the raspberry. And we could try to blend that into the bubble pink. I don't know if that's going to be too much of a transition or too much of a switch in the values of the colors. Alcohol markers are much different than colored pencils, and I feel like the value between the colors needs to usually be pretty close to get a really smooth transition between the colors. Maybe we'll try raspberry, dark orchid, and bubble pink. Okay, so I have a piece of my Hammermill paper, and when you are working with alcohol markers, you want to make sure you have a really good paper that is meant for markers, so a little bit thicker and also a very smooth texture. And this paper definitely does that for us. And when I'm printing out my coloring pages that I want to color in marker, I always use this paper. I will have this paper linked down in the description box below. Now, my next hint for when you're using your alcohol markers, I'm going to test these out and do this blend test with the broad tips so we could see how well they blend together. But when you're using alcohol markers, you want to make sure you get all the markers down on the paper before they dry, so that way you get a really nice blend of all of the colors. So what I like to do is I like to take the top off all of my markers and just leave them over here off to the side. And then I can work with my markers and the tops are already off, so I can swap back and forth from color to color and just lay them down on my coloring page. So we're gonna start with the raspberry. And these are definitely really juicy markers. They go down really nicely and smooth. Now we're gonna come with our mid-tone, and then we're gonna come back with the lightest color. And they did blend together very, very nicely. Maybe we should try one more. Okay, so I pulled my swatch chart out one more time. Let's go ahead and maybe pick some blues. I really want to be able to use this blue cloud. I love that color. So maybe midnight blue, light blue, and blue cloud. Let's go ahead and grab those. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull our tops off of those colors, and we are going to blend those out right here. Okay, so I took off the wrong ends on these, and I think that's probably a really good idea. With these colors from the blue color family, let's go ahead and test out the fine tip of the marker and see how juicy that is, because I've not yet used that side. So we're going to start with the midnight blue. Oh, they go down really nicely too. Oops, my tops are falling off. I didn't put it back on there all the way. And then light blue. And then our blue cloud. And they blended together nicely as well. Okay, so we've got a pink color family blend and a blue color family blend. And I think they blended together pretty nicely. And this one, remember I told you that it's important to get the color down before it dries when you're working with alcohol markers. This one here where you see the transition that's not as seamless, that's because I lost another top off my marker, and so I was distracted. So let's try those one more time, since I lost the cap in between those two transitions and it distracted me just a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that one again over here. So here's the midnight blue, and then the light blue, and then the cloud blue. So now we have a much better blend. Yeah, that first time I went to go blend those together, and I just got done telling y'all how important it is to make sure you take your caps off, set them off to the side so you could just swap between colors. And then because I didn't put the cap on tight enough, it fell off and it distracted me, and so there was a little bit of time in between there. But see, if you're quick about it, you are able to get a really nice blend with these. But you can tell the difference for sure between this one and this one, and I probably could have came back to this one and blended that out just a little bit more, but I think it was better just to go ahead and do it again so y'all can see how they really do blend together. Okay, so that concludes my review of these markers. And I hope that you all enjoyed the video. I hope that it was helpful. If you are a beginner and you're looking to try out a new set of alcohol markers and you're just getting started with them and you just want a smaller set just so you can learn how to work with them, there are so many budget products out there that are absolutely wonderful, and you really don't need to spend the money on really expensive artist grade things. And I know for me, I will never have Copics. Never, ever, ever will I have Copics because I just can't see the point in spending that kind of money. But this set is fantastic for somebody who is a beginner and just getting into alcohol markers and wants that experience and wants to experiment with them. And my next video to follow this one, I will have the flip through of the brand new coloring book, and I'm going to do a tutorial with these markers and show you how to lay colored pencils right over the markers. I'm actually filming both of these videos at the same time, so they are going to come to you one right after the other. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and everything that you've seen in this video will be linked down in the description box below. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you in the next video. Happy coloring. Bye.